guys, welcome to part 2 of our series on Bucky O'Hare, the Toad Wars. Today we're going to look at the last 4 figures in the line, which are the Bad and the Ugly, Toad Air Marshal, Toad Borg, Stormtrooper, Alligator, and I have one of the vehicles too that's still in the box, and we'll pop that guy out after we do the figures. First up, we're going to look at the Toad Stormtrooper, whose weapon of choice is the Toad Phlegm laser rifle. So I want to do him first because I think he's one of the best looking figures in the line. He's just the standard grunt, you know, nameless dude. They're getting up there in prices and getting a little hard to find. I wonder if it's just because there's a few people trying to army build with these guys or something, but wouldn't be a surprise. I've only seen one color of his gun, so it may be the only one they made. It matches the one on the card art, which is nice, so I think a kind of colorful gun goes with this guy, especially because it's this color that's repeated in his paint job. He really is a great looking figure. I really like his design. Unfortunately, I think one of his legs has suffered a bit from some warping over the years. The vinyl might have shrunk, and one of the legs, because I just cannot find the right kind of position for him to stand. That's a shame. He's such a great looking figure that's the problem with these funky action poses, you know, like the squat poses where they're meant to be in mid-step like he is here. See, his foot's up. You know, it doesn't necessarily age well, and because of his angled hip, that means the further you make it go back, the farther out his leg goes in the wrong direction. So he still stands, but it is something to watch out for. He's got a great kind of gold skull and crossbones emblem on his chest. He has some of the pegs in the hole in the back. His weapon actually has some pegs on it, so I wonder if... No, it's not quite the same width. I mean, it kind of stays there, but it's not going to stay in. I really like the weapon design in this line. I think they're a lot of fun. Very cartoony, but still kind of a retro laser gun look to everything. He holds it with no problem. Got nothing really to do with his other hand, which is kind of a shame, but he does have wrist movement so he can hold it in different angles. Man, I'm really bummed about his legs. For now, he's just kind of strange, kind of pigeon toe thing going on. Okay, next we've got the Toad Air Marshal, who's the Supreme High August Commander of Complex's 23rd Reinforced Planetary Assault Armada. And he uses a vibro bayonet and a Toad Phlegm rifle. Here's his card art and figure. Oh yeah, he does have a bayonet up there. I never noticed that before. He's definitely the shortest and squattest in this line. So here's his figure. Short and stumpy. Doesn't have much in the way of articulation. It's like his legs do move, but it's kind of like why? Because they're so short. At least you know he's gonna have no problems at all standing with any positioning of his arms. He's got one hand kind of molded in a point like he's doing on his card art, and the other hand is for his weapon. There is a hole in the top of his head for his cap, which we'll put on. He wears it kind of to the side, which is kind of works. I don't know why they just didn't mold that on. I guess then he couldn't turn his head as well, but I don't know. It seems like a fair concession to make. His back is pretty cool. There's these big kind of bolted on sprockets and a couple of those pegs that we've seen on the other guys, but no back hole. Yeah, he doesn't look like much from the front, but when you get him out and look at him, he actually looks pretty cool, especially next to like the foot soldier back here. His gun is absolutely humongous, which is pretty funny. It is also made of like soft vinyl all through and through, so it's quite heavy and quite spongy too. Now, it's got 2 pegs on the front that are made for the bayonet. You can either hold that as a weapon or attach it to the front of the gun, which sits really nicely in this curve shape here on either side. It adds a little color to the gun, which is cool. And even though it is so extremely heavy, his humongous feet allow him to hold it out with no problems. It would be nice if he had a way to stow it though, because there's no way it's gonna work up here and doubtfully on those back pegs. Although it might. Since his gun is so much softer than the other ones, it's actually quite difficult to get it out of his hands. And as you can see, if you try to work it, that rubber is just going to twist, so I don't Really want to try it. Alright, next up is Toadborg, who's the Supreme High Commander of Combined Toad Military Forces. So he is a cyborg Toad. He uses a Toad & Wesson self-cycling pulse laser with Bosch and Tadpole 87X auto-ranging optics. Alright, I'm already nervous about his feet since he is in one of those elaborate poses, but there's something about him, like he looks so cool on the card art, and there's like these cool horns on him and stuff, but as you can see, those are not on his figure, and they chose such a dark color for him that you can't hardly see any of his detail. He just kind of looks like a bug. So there's the Toadborg, and we lucked out and his feet are in good shape. He does kind of point inward on the front foot for some reason. Probably some bending has occurred, but he stands with no problem. Don't really care for the color they chose for his legs. I mean, I get they wanted to make it look metallic. It just doesn't really go with the rest of his color scheme, at least not to my eye. Some of his paint work is a little sloppy and haphazard, it seems like. He's a cool sculpt. Like, there's some great detailing on there, like these kind of louvered pauldrons that he's got, and the chest breathing ports, I assume, and there's some cool mechanical stuff in his joints, like kind of this gross exposed spine. But the simplistic paint and kind of softness and the overspray here don't really add to that. So he has a articulation at his elbow actually to rotate his arms in the up and down version. I do like his stance though. It's kind of got this like Terminator plodding towards you kind of feeling. I do have a brightly colored version of his weapon. I would hope that there's one that matches him a little better. That's a different version, but his gun looks quite a bit different than the rest. Under-designed, given the long name that they gave it on the back. It's not really my favorite one, but it does attach in an interesting way. He's got holes in his forearms, and the back goes in there, so you can hold it in the front. So he's got a couple different ways you can hold it, but this is definitely the most sturdy one. He's got a cool look overall, and he has absolutely none of the pegs on him, and no hole in his back either. So, and here is the final villain, Al Negator. It was definitely the most expensive and hardest to find, at least in my experience. And he's a mercenary for hire. He's the only bad guy that's not a toad. He's a alligator, obviously. And he has a Saturn Night Special rocket launchers and microwave brain baker. Savage sounding guy. So his artwork is really great. Characterized version of him looks a little less sinister and a little more goofy, but really like his design on his artwork here. So he comes out tailless. His tail is a separate accessory so he can fit in his blister, and it just pops right in there. The tail just gives him even more stability on these really big legs, so once again he stands very well. I like his color scheme a lot. Like this kind of bronzy color appears in a bunch of the villains, and I really like how his works with the purple and like the neon green of his teeth and eyes and stuff. He's got a back peg and one of those little weapons holster things off to the side. Yeah, he's got a really nice look to him. The detailing in his skin is really, really cool. Rivets and stuff in his armor. Yeah, I like him a lot. With that long weapons list, you thought he'd have more than one accessory, but it's just this. Just kind of a rifle looking thing. Not much to say about this one, especially since they listed he had missiles and brain bakers, and really he's just got a kind of a pistol rifle thing. So here are the villains all lined up together. One thing I really like about this line is just the height difference in all the characters. Like everybody's a different size. It just adds something to it that you don't see a lot in some toy lines. So everything's got a really defined and unique silhouette. Like I'm sure if you knocked out any of the characters just in black and white silhouette, you'd be able to tell which one it is because they're all very distinct. Yeah, I think this line is a lot of fun. It's very cartoony, very silly, but it didn't go down that completely absurd that Playmates would have probably taken it. You know, they probably have flies painted all over the frogs or something like that, you know. Yeah, I really like these. I think Bucky O'Hare is, well, I can't really say if it's underrated or not because I can't speak for everybody, but I hadn't really thought about it in years, and when I picked up Bucky again, I was like, you know what, I'm going to give these a try, and I'm really glad I did. They look really cool all lined up on the shelf. But before we wrap up, we do have one of the vehicles, so I'm going to get that up. Okay, and here we have the Toad Croaker, which is a flying vehicle that's actually featured in the comic. Back here is the other vehicle that they made for the line, the Double Bubble. This thing is extremely elusive, at least for me. There's like one on eBay in the box, but it's like in Greece or something and has some crazy expensive shipping, so. And finding them loose, they are never complete, like ever. Like both those fins are usually missing, one of the claws and both of the bubbles are usually missing, so they look like garbage when you do see them. I love the design, and that's it's becoming one of those kind of grail finds for me, I think. But on the back there's a shot of the actual vehicle with all sorts of silly names for the parts. Here's the spec details if you'd like to read. Apparently it's got a soft rubber part that activates a sound gimmick on the bottom so you can smush toads with it. Here, in the other video I talked about masers, so here it's got it defined. A maser is a microwave amplification by stimulated emissions of radiation, so in this world they're literally cooking each other with guns. Think about it, I think it's called the Aniverse in Bucky O'Hare, the animal universe. It's worth noting that the box that this guy had this in is in incredible condition, so I'm probably going to hang on to it. The artwork on the front is awesome. It helps that it's got Dead-Eye Duck on it too, who's amazing. Whoa, this thing is much bigger than I thought it would be. So this thing came out of the box in lots and lots of pieces in Hasbro style. It's got one of these, so I think it's not going to be so much of a croaking sound as it is like kind of a whoopee cushion fart, which is pretty awesome. Stickers look to be in good shape, very colorful. And here are the instructions with sticker. Oh, cool. It's got some big art on the back so that you can subscribe to the comic book plus buy the 20 by 23 poster. Before putting it all together, I thought it was important to show that the bottom of this thing looks like a shoe. So when you smash toads, you know, it's like a big flying boot. Okay, so here's the Toad Croaker all assembled and stickers applied. There was only a couple really tense moments where you had to force tabs together and I was worried they were going to snap, but it made it through okay. It's actually quite a bit bigger than I thought it was, and the molding and detailing on it are just really great. Like, look at all the detail in there. I mean, there was a time when Hasbro was the king of vehicles, so it shouldn't be too much of a surprise, but I mean, just all the greebling and the diamond plate there, really great. Man, the camera can't even handle how intense this red really is. It's really a fluorescent pink. It's intense. The stickers, I think, are the weakest part. None of them are transparent, so they're all sitting on this kind of white background that just sticks out like a sore thumb. This is a case where I think I kind of regret putting the stickers on. It's so cool that they went the extra mile, and you know, these aren't just molded blue, there's a color to the eyes, so it's got a great profile with these exaggerated engines, and yeah, I'm really happy with it. Overall, it's just the stickers. Such a shame about the stickers. Man, it's so bright though, you can't look directly at that pink for very long. So I think this thing was kind of designed with Deadeye in mind. He goes on the center peg and can put both of his, well, just about any of his arms can operate the guns while he's still brandishing pistols, so that's pretty awesome. And there's still a peg room in the back for one other character. Most of the characters have such a wide stance though, it would probably be pretty difficult to get one in there. And here's the gimmick with the big bellows in the bottom. Let's see if we can actually get it to work. Yeah, it works much better on a flat surface. You can kind of hear it. There, the reed in there is pretty, hasn't aged too well. There we go. But it makes a nice satisfying fart when you smash things. but you really got to get it right on the nose. Well, that wraps it up for Bucky O'Hare. That was the Toad Croaker vehicle, Hasbro, 1990. Got Deadeye Duck at the controls there. It's a great looking vehicle. This is a really fun line. I really enjoyed this one. Yeah, if you're at all a fan of the character designs or anything, I'd encourage you to pick up the whole line. I'd say there isn't really any stinkers in there. Seeing this vehicle does make me really sad that I haven't found that double bubble though. So yeah, short series. Great line though, great figures. Really glad I invested in these. Up next, I've got a bunch of stuff to pick from. I haven't quite decided yet. Could be Dick Tracy, could be some Thundercat stuff, could be Land of the Lost. Oh, we will see. Oh, and real quick before we go, I did want to mention that Boss Fight Studios, I don't know too much about, but they've made some modern Bucky O'Hare figures that I do want to look at and compare to the originals in another video. But as you can see, they've got Deadeye Duck and a Toad Stormtrooper coming out. I know I have this one on pre-order. This one is probably pretty far out, but I do have Bucky and Jenny. Jenny, of course, was never made for the toy line, but she is from the comics and the cartoon. When I have Deadeye Duck in hand, I think we'll take a look at these guys and compare them to the originals, but that'll be probably, you know, into some other series by the time that does show up. So anyway, thanks again.